Yes.
Trustee Smart,
Yes.
trustee Samari,
Yes.
trustee Suplet,
Here.
president Sick.
Here. All right, thank you very much. Any public comments? Okay, let's keep moving on. Let's move on to item 1.
Citizens today. Oh, that's exciting.
Move on to item 1, intergovernmental agreement for library services. We're talking about St. Viator and St. Pete's, correct?
That is
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
So this is extending our intergovernmental agreements with some private schools. As per previous discussion, we've piloted this with School District 25 and District 214. It's been working well. Trixie Gantis, manager of youth services, is here this evening, as well as Shannon Meyer, circulation manager. Do you guys want to speak to this relationship that's already been in place with District 25 and 214?
Sure. So in September and October, we signed agreements with Percy and School District 25 to get all of the educators the library cards. For Percy, we issued 61 library cards, and at School District 25, we issued 593 library cards. I think that with the pandemic, it was a little bit mixed as far as teachers knowing how they can use it and knowing how they can integrate it with their curriculum. But we definitely received positive responses from the teachers. Educators commented that they're finally able to kind of look into the materials that they're recommending for their students, which I thought was a really great thing. And then also having teachers be able to use our databases, especially at a time when they were learning was at home, and they were able to help their students walk through using those practices. So with this, we would like to look at expanding the pilot so that we can get it out to more schools.
I have nothing much more to add to that. Just that the teachers that we have encountered at circulation have been excited about the fact that, like Trixie said, their students will talk about certain things that they can do when they visit the library, and they would not be able to access those things. So now they can, and it's been great. I think IT also gave them like an overview of some of the different databases that we have, and try to push some of those as well. And the students are able to use those, and especially virtually, they were able to. So it's been great.
So if I can ask, so reading through this, it says St. Viator has phased out the physical library, right? So they don't have anything. Is there any, since all the schools in 14 and 25 do have libraries, is there anything different that we need to add, or that they're going to need from us that those schools didn't need?
I don't know if there's anything different. We already provide a school resource bag, so that if they do need physical materials, we have a system in place where they can request that. And we actually do deliveries to the schools, so we will deliver the materials to them. I think that our biggest challenge with Viator has been one set contact. So at schools where there's a librarian, we're able to have kind of that back and forth communication and know exactly how we can support them. Whereas at Viator, it's individual teachers. So it's been, there are some teachers that are power users, but I'm not sure that everyone knows that they can access our resources.
So if we have one contact with those other schools and any issues come up, do we just go to that one contact, or do we go back to the individual, teacher or whatever, or something like that? Not saying that anything's happened, and I'm not criticizing you. I'm just wondering, in case anything happens.
That's the benefit of these teacher cards, is that the teacher themselves becomes responsible instead of having that one person who then has to go and find those teachers, and it becomes somewhat of a work-life balance in terms of that, shame on you, you've done something, whoever might know about it. This is the teacher's responsibility, and they are able to monitor and maintain their own individual checkouts for their classroom, depending on what they need. And so it becomes a lot more heavily responsible on their part versus trying to go to a librarian who then has to wrangle all of these people and try to find all these materials.
How did you choose which two schools to go to next?
We chose Viator because they don't have a physical library.
Right.
And then St. Peter, they all this past year, and currently they do not employ a librarian. So they have a very small library where it's limited access for the educators and the students because there's not always someone there to assist them.
Are there any other schools in the area that or any other libraries that we're gonna have to do like those St. James? As a
Oh,
school?
wait, I subbed in the library. I subbed as librarian at Wayside last year at the beginning of the year. And then actually I know that teacher ended up leaving. So I don't know if they still have one. And because of COVID, they sort of moved the library into one small room because they made the lunchroom bigger for their social distancing. So I don't know. I mean, I would say the other, Christian Liberty, Wayside, and St. James are the other main three.
St. Edmund.
But they don't.
Oh, they don't have
Middle
school.
school. Middle school. So what's the plan for bringing them in the fall? Why wouldn't we, could we extend it to them right now, or is that just too much work for us?
I mean, I think the dream is to offer it to all the schools we serve. I think that we're just kind of going with a slow
Yeah.
approach to make
That
sure
makes
that
sense.
everything, we're able to support it, especially, coming out of the pandemic and starting to reintroduce services. So just making sure that we have resources in place.
So if extending this pilot to these schools works and we can handle the load and stuff like that, we may bring another proposal in the future to expand it to all schools that we serve. And then, but that would be a separate proposal.
Well, I like that there's a high school because that's different content than the, PK 3 through 8. So that'll be good learning for you, I guess. And if Christian Liberty is interested at some point since they expand.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, very good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
that's great.
See how easy that was.
Okay. On to item 2, extension of temporary policy due to COVID-19.
So I am bringing back the temporary policy due to COVID-19 for renewal. This will expire at the July board meeting. So I have made significant changes in this version with really removing everything except for 2 amendments, the hours of service. The hours of service will be set by the executive director. Our hours of service do currently remain shortened due to reduced library usage, in-person programming, stuff like that. That's not happening as in the same capacity as it did before. We do expect to be able to bring, some permanent or semi-permanent hour proposal before the September 21st extension that I'm asking for here for hours. The meeting room public usage policy, public use of meeting rooms will be determined at the discretion of the executive director. We are scheduled to reopen that Henderson meeting room for public reservation, to the public September 1st. So just extending that amendment to cover that exception. Well, those are really the only 2 things that we felt necessary to carry on. The rest of the things are really about library usage, temporary library cards, outreach. These are all things that we had made some accommodation for throughout COVID, but is no longer really necessary to have these amendments in here. Nothing we're doing now really is in violation of our policies.
So these meeting rooms, we're talking about these meeting rooms out here.
No, the Henderson room.
It's already open, right? These
So
opened
that's
already.
just for the Hendrickson room. It doesn't have to do with this
Right.
one.
These are open. These open July.
Okay, all right. I was thinking it was for both of those.
July 1st, wasn't it?
Only for
And you're doing the dry run tonight.
Yeah, right. Apparently so. Think about that.
What's in there?
My condominium association meeting apparently is proud tonight.
Uh-oh.
Which I'm missing. Think, what?
So things like the vacation, personal leave, and holidays, obviously it's going all back to just
All back to standard policy.
all back to standard policy. When you bring this, to extend to September, I think you have that. To September 21st. Out of curiosity, how do we pick the date of September September 21st.
I think that was our next meeting.
Next board meeting.
Right.
They've been going by board meeting dates.
So the July, August, so you're doing two board meetings.
60 days.
You're only 60 days. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, let's go on to policy 7.016, alcohol, item 3.
Okay, so this is a new policy for consideration, and this will be for the distribution and consumption of alcohol during library programs, events, fundraisers, and private events. Essentially, we have not had a dedicated policy for alcohol on the books, and we would like to, with the makerspace, one of the things that we had talked about is dinner parties over there, foundation friends, they're going to be having events over there. We want to have some guidelines around alcohol use for these public or semi-private events. So we put together a alcohol policy that was written in collaboration with our attorney, and they looked at library policies, rails, resources, and information from the library's insurance company in order to create this policy.
I think it's well written. I appreciate the fact that we're making sure that servers are properly licensed. That's a big deal. It is missed a lot of times. And I like the fact that we're requiring insurance. I think that's the two main points that were going to be my concern.
Where it says the selling of alcohol or tickets for alcoholic beverages is prohibited. So if we did a fundraiser there for friends or for the foundation, and the fundraiser required a ticket to get in, like a $50 ticket or whatever, and that includes appetizers and drinks, is that considered?
That's a little bit different because that's your
Okay.
entrance to the event.
Okay,
You're not selling alcohol.
got it. So
And-
your ticket to the event includes
It
alcohol.
includes it, right?
Okay,
They're
I just
talking
wanna
about
make
tickets
sure.
to go up and get a drink.
Yeah,
You're not gonna
I
do
just
that.
want to make sure that we could still be able to hold
Yeah.
things like that.
And we may give, and correct me if I'm wrong, hand tickets out for drinks, so like 2 tickets to be
Gotcha,
able to turn in for drinks, but you can't sell those tickets for them to.
got it.
And that limits the consumption, that's why you do that.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily have to be alcohol.
So,
Yeah,
Right,
right.
Okay, so I'm really confused here. The selling of alcohol or tickets for alcohol beverages prohibited, but we're saying it's okay if it's included as part of, but didn't we say also that we don't have entry fees? We don't want to have entry fees into the meetings, it would have to be like a donation.
Correct, that's for, meeting room use?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so doesn't all this conflict with each other? Because we couldn't do the scenario that Amy was just talking about.
Right, you could not charge, somebody renting the space could not charge for entrance to the meeting or to the.
So basically that limits, the only people that can hold fundraisers in that space then would be the library friends, perhaps, and the library foundation?
Not necessarily.
No,
A donation
They could.
can be taken, but it can't, the donation would not
Okay.
be,
it's be
well, their
suggested
attendance would
donation.
not be contingent upon them making the donation.
Right. So they could on their poster say suggested donation of $50 for this event for the
Right.
Historic Society,
Right.
but they couldn't make people pay $50.
Okay.
Okay.
And Shannon or Donna, I don't know if you guys want to weigh in on this at all. You guys, Donna had many conversations with the insurance company on this.
And I wrote this to the attorney.
Yeah.
So one of the main things that this policy does is limit our right, which is why we're really not having an exchange of cash or credit cards, table tickets. We just want to prevent tax evasion. So yes, we could, if it was a library program and they registered, and with registration, you could get a ticket, that's permitted. No exchange.
So are you saying though that it's okay to serve alcohol at these events, but they just can't charge for it?
Correct. We cannot serve, but they can hire, or we can hire somebody who can serve and provide.
A
the
basket
insurance.
licensed
Yeah.
person.
Correct.
Do we need to spell that out in here? Because here.
It is.
That's actually in there.
It is.
It's in there. That's why I like
That's
it
why you
so
have
much.
the brand shop, you have the
Yeah,
brand.
it's in there.
license.
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah. it
But,
says
okay,
very
so
clearly.
this is where I was getting Okay, so this is where I was getting confused. I think you just answered it, because you've got that bullet point we were just talking about, selling you alcohol tickets. And then I was looking at the bullet point up there where it said in point 3, the sale, distribution, consumption up to people under 21 prohibited. So I'm getting a little confused there. It's kind of like we're saying that you can't have alcohol, we couldn't sell alcohol as is, but we're saying you can be in there for free and it can't be anybody under 21.
Correct.
Let's provide dram shop liability. Okay.
Okay, I have a question. So let's say one of our nonprofits is having an event, and as part of their fundraiser, they're going to raffle off bottles of champagne. What about that?
They can raffle that off because that's a donation,
Okay,
but then it would have to be served by the licensed and insured.
can they
server.
take it, let's say they win this bottle of champagne, can they take it with them?
They can take it with them.
Okay.
Yes.
Wanna make
Just like
sure.
if they, want to book here during. an
Just
offer.
checking.
Yeah. So if there's an event that has alcohol as part of it, which would potentially just be like Foundation Friends, something like that, we couldn't have children there, correct?
You can have children,
You just can't serve children.
you can't serve children.
I thought they couldn't be there either.
It says cannot, distribution, consumption.
Oh, okay, so they could, all right,
Which makes them responsible for the carding. That's the point.
right.
Going back to your question about taking it off-site, I almost think in bullet point number 2, and then number 2 within that, prevent alcohol from being removed from library property by attendees. I almost wonder if we should say prevent open alcohol.
Yeah,
Mhm. That's why, that was my question. Thank you. Actually,
well, and you even, like, I'm Bassett trained, licensed or whatever, so it doesn't have to be like a paid bartender. It can be someone who's gone through the training for, I did it for church.
that's all it is.
So,
Bassett
yeah.
is the
Okay,
license.
so it's like-
Right, so I guess I'm just saying
You're
that,
fine. So you're fine. If you're licensed,
Right.
I still have my
yeah,
license.
that you don't, we don't have to hire. It
Trixie
doesn't
probably
mean we
could
have
do
to
it.
hire a bartender. It means the
As
person,
long as you can
Serving.
provide insurance or, the liability insurance,
Right.
that goes along with it.
Yeah.
So,
so then it would be a bartender.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions. One, this is only for the maker's place?
No. This will be a general policy, because we do have programs that we serve alcohol. And so that we have currently.
It seems to be on the introduction page here, we're just talking about the maker's place. Yeah, runners of the library.
Oh, yes, right. So,
That's for renters,
yeah,
just renters. We don't.
But this is for everybody. Do we need
just
this?
for renters.
I mean, obviously the maker place is the library, so I don't think we need to go to that extreme, correct?
right.
Okay, and the last question I have is the very last sentence. The license server must provide proof of permit licensing, insurance, naming the unitized page amount of certificate holder and all that stuff. When does that have to be there? Does it have to be there when they put in the application, or do they have to have that by the day of the event?
I believe by the day of the event, right?
Did that say that in there specifically then?
I can add that in the website at the day of the event or programs.
Or any confusion?
In that same paragraph, we do say renters of the makerspace must provide dram shop liability insurance in the form of, do we want to say makerspace or just renters of meeting rooms?
Yeah, right, it goes. I mean, yeah, you could, if they wanted to bring alcohol in the good.
Okay. Any more questions, comments?
Do they need to do they need to do something with the Village of Arlington Heights to be able to serve alcohol
To
in?
sell, they do. I don't believe if it's just a private party and they're just serving, not charging, then,
That they don't.
permits not.
That's correct.
Right?
Okay.
That's correct. If they're
Have we heard-
taking money, they have to. If they're not, they don't have to.
So Obviously,
They
you're
have to,
talking to
they're
Roger, but
doing
do
a
we,
lot of
do we need to
something.
talk to anybody in the village just to make sure?
We have talked to the village and I don't know if we talked to the attorney about that specifically, but we can verify that.
Just,
Have something right in.
dot the I in that one. if you can.
You might want to check too with the village, because they do, if you're doing some kind of gambling, you have to give a waiver from the village for the gambling.
Oh, for Revlon and stuff like that.
Because normally they do that for the chamber, they do casino night. You might want to make sure you know what that is too.
Okay.
Just don't want to bust them. Also.
Somebody's going down.
Those crazy,
I can see it already happening.
those wild library parties.
Very good. Any more questions on that one? Good time on this. All right, let's go to item 4, human resource policy, remote work.
Okay, this is another new policy. This one is for the staff side. This policy really provides some guidelines for remote work. We had, obviously, during the pandemic, had a large number of staff working remotely. Most of what we were doing during that time was, just trying to get the critical work done. And we've been pretty lenient on staff working from home. We are trying to get staff back in the building, and we want to set some guidelines and some parameters for staff going forward on what remote work looks like. And so that's what this policy is for. Ultimately, the eligibility and schedule and duration of remote work really falls on each department manager to determine what's best for their department and the library in general. So they would determine, if this role will work as a remote position, once a month, or twice a month, or once a week, whatever, and then work that out with the staff member. This is not just kind of an open-ended, everyone can work from home thing. This is really more for those exceptions to the rules. We do want staff to be in the building. We find that collaboration is much easier, among a number of different things. So, but we do want to have some guidelines around remote working.
Any thoughts, questions?
Great idea.
One question I did have is, if I'm reading this part right, the section under equipment and workspace. So are they expected, is staff expected to use their own computer when they're at home? Working from home?
It depends. If they voluntarily ask to work from home,
Yes.
then it's expected that they would use their own equipment. We do provide VPN connection, so they can. There are also requirements if they're using their own equipment to have virus protection and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we do as well. If we ask them to work from home, then we probably provide them with the equipment necessary to do so.
I was really most worried about security more than anything.
Yeah, and we have a separate policy. It's called our Workplace Technology Communication Personal Devices Policy, which kind of outlines that as well. And in here, it says that the staff member must adhere to those policies in order to work from home.
Okay.
And that's about keeping data on the network and proper security on the personal devices, antivirus protection, and that kind of stuff.
I have a question. I know a lot of businesses, right or wrong, are doing a lot regarding measuring employee productivity when they're at home. Is there any talk of that or discussion of that, or where are we at on that, or how do we feel about that?
We've really, it's kind of up to the manager to ensure that the staff are productive from home. There is some stuff in here that talks about availability and being able to let's see, so,
Be available by, was it by phone, by text?
oh, Mary, go ahead.
There is an agreement that each employee, manager, and director must fill out that discusses ways to check in, ways to go through what equipment is available. They have those discussions. It's not an outright.
And a lot of that's generated by billable hours.
Right.
If you work for somebody that has billable hours.
I agree, but some of it also is making sure you're working and just not logged in, out in the backyard playing.
Yeah, and to be accessible for video meetings,
Right.
calls, respond in a reasonable amount of time, all that same.
Yeah, second paragraph under eligibility. And if, it's found that an employee is abusing that, then this policy gives that manager the right to say, to end that work relationship. Remote work relationship.
Okay. Anybody have more questions? Okay, so we've got, was it 4 policies that we just went over, correct?
Yes.
So what will happen is, obviously this is a meeting where we discuss and kind of think about it. So now we've got the 2 weeks until we get to the next meeting, kind of think about it. In case there's any answers or any further questions that kind of come up. We've got to get that going. Okay, so we are now on to other. Got a couple things real quick I want to ask you guys about. Mike and I were talking before with the hours as they are right now at the library. Might not be a problem, but starting the meeting at 7, the library does close at 8. So there are some issues that go along with that when our meetings run long.
Good with that.
So am I, by the way. But do we want to consider moving this meeting up at all? I don't know what everybody's availability is even, going to 6:30 or going to 6 o'clock or something like that.
Carol would be the issue, I think.
I could do the 6:30, but that's as early as I could do it.
I could do 6:30,
I'm good with 7 and being up by 8.
but if,
Yes, sir. How are you? How are you?
Just until September. I mean, I have one more. So I could probably do 6:30.
6:30. 6:30. Okay, I'll talk to Carol.
Yeah, Andy.
Oh, Andy, what's your thoughts? I'm sorry, you're behind me.
I know you're just trying to avoid me. It's fine. I get it. Yeah, 7 is good for me. If it needs to be earlier, I prefer 6:30. 6 becomes hard. But it's twice a month. If that's what it has to be, that's what it has to be. But I prefer 7, but I totally get and respect the fact that people want to go home, and we have had a couple of late nights. But yeah, 6:30, if that's doable.
So how about this? How about we have the next board meeting at 7 o'clock? And let's just kind of talk, and it'll give you, again, time to kind of think about it, pluses and minuses, and we'll talk to Carol about it, and then we'll talk about it more at the board meeting. Is it okay with everybody? Andy, you good with that?
Yeah, I can make 6:30 work if that's what the consensus is.
Just say if we do change it to 6:30, I would presume Mary would do her magic about making sure that's appropriately broadcast to the appropriate residents, so that we make sure people understand we've changed that in the paper and such, so that it's out
I
there.
think Janet does a process, and I don't know at what point we need to consider permanent moves.
Yeah, we can send it out.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's out there and that we're
Yeah.
transparent.
All right, very good. Okay, so thanks for all your thoughts, and we'll talk about that at the next meeting. The last one, the second one that I have, the makerspace. I was thinking maker place, thank you very much. It'd be kind of nice to have a trustee project that we all,
Oh, geez.
that we
There we
all do
go.
something on. So Mike
we
and I
can make
talked.
earrings together.
Mike and
I think we're
talked-
gonna do planting together.
Yes, that's
I knew
actually
that
what
was coming.
Mike,
I had a
actually,
feeling it was
that's actually what Mike and I have talked about.
Yard work?
Doing,
planting.
well,
Planting.
you don't want to know what I first suggested, actually, but that was a lot of work. It's right in front of the sign, right?
Throughout the front.
Kind of throughout the front lawn, just we pick like a Saturday. And, probably sometime either obviously the end of this month or, early next month, and we just, go out there for an hour or two and we just plant
Well,
out.
It'll be more than an hour or two.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we are going to put a limit on it. We are going to put a limit on it, because everybody's got something.
Okay.
But I have a feeling we have to make that an official meeting though, just in
I think we
case.
should make it an official event.
Make it
With the
official.
neighbors coming up and
Sure,
be less
if they
work
want
for
to.
us.
So some hamburgers on the grill.
Yeah, in the grill, I got some sausage.
So Andy, what's your thoughts? Are you okay with the trustee project? Like that?
Sorry, had to find the unmute button. I am starting radiation, so I don't know how I'm gonna be feeling and all that. I would be game for it if I have the energy to be there, but I don't wanna be counted on if I can't.
Yeah, and for everybody, this is, we'll set up a time to do all this. And, if you can make it, you can make it. If you can't, you can't. Obviously, we've all got schedules, but I just thought it'd be kind of nice. And there's something we can all point in as a board and say, we did that.
Can I make a suggestion that we also maybe invite our former compadres who were involved in the
That's a good
Maker
idea.
Place
Sure. That's a
progress?
good
I
idea.
think that would be nice since they were so crucial in getting
Yeah,
this going.
Christine, yeah.
That would be a nice time to see them and rekindle.
That'd be great.
Have we thought at all, I'm just throwing this out there. The last 2 weeks in August are dead in this town. I think everybody knows that, right? There's no one here. So I'm not sure what we're planning about the date of the opening, but are we thinking of moving it to September maybe, or are we talking?
Very end of August.
Because I'm gonna
Kids are
tell
back in
you, no
school.
one's around.
No, kids are back in school.
Yeah, but it's gonna be rough. And you
Why
better-
don't you, can you give a quick synopsis of what we talked about earlier?
Yeah, there were some complications over the last couple of weeks with construction, mainly the flooring. The flooring contractor came in and did a closer inspection of the subfloor in the building and found that in the estimate, it was too far damaged to just put the tile over. So we were kind of going back and forth with them over a week and a half. We pulled a meeting together with our architect, our general contractor, our facilities staff, myself, and then the contractor, as well as a couple other staff here, and really looked at it and decided that we were able to secure the subfloor because it was moving a little bit, just thinking creaks and stuff like that, to the point where they could use leveling compound, level it out, and then tile over it. We did have to give up the herringbone pattern that we had originally planned for because the floor is not perfectly level. And so according to the contractor, that line might creep a little bit along.
Get vertigo.
Yes, correct. And
Experience.
then there's also like a joint at basically like the middle of the makerspace area. So where the makerspace DIY space is when you first walk in, from the back wall to about 2/3 of the way up, it's a concrete floor. Everything in front of that is plywood. And so the joint where those two meet will always be a problem. It's always going to crack or something like that. So previously, the tile that was there had a crack going across the entire room. So the contractor suggested doing a piece of threshold trim flush with the floor that the trim or the floor would butt up to allow for some movement there. And so that was another contributing factor to why we had to ditch the other pattern. But that did take some time. There was also an issue in the installation of the paneling in the kitchen that brought that FRP paneling all the way to the floor, the vinyl paneling, and that needs to be trimmed back to allow for the floor to be curled up onto the wall. And so the contractors that put that in are coming back to trim that back. And so there's just been a few setbacks. There's also the ceiling in the basement has been a setback over the past couple of weeks. The original plan called for a drop ceiling in the basement, but upon further inspection, once we actually went to install it, it would not meet the height requirement. So we've kind of gone back and forth with the sprinkler guys, the inspector, and our architect to come up with a little bit different plans. So that took a couple of weeks as well. So what we're going to do is the whole ceiling will be blocked out, and then there'll be 3 clouds in that space, 3 drop ceiling sections. One in the middle and then one on either end. That'll provide some acoustic dampening. So that took a little bit of engineering to figure out, and there was some confusion about sprinkler code and what we could and couldn't do as far as the sprinkler heads going up and down. But I think we've got all that figured out. The flooring is moving. They've done the flooring in the industrial tools room and one of the flex spaces opposite the kitchen. And then they're starting in the makerspace, and then they're going to do the kitchen. The kitchen, they're going to be back, I think, next week or 2 weeks. And they'll lay that flooring. Once that flooring's done, the equipment is scheduled to come in. The island is scheduled to come in. So all of that stuff had to get pushed. They were actually supposed to deliver the equipment today, but with the flooring not done, not possible. So that had to get pushed back. So right now we're looking at August 31st as open date.
So do these require change
It's a
orders?
Tuesday.
The only change order I think we had on that was for the sprinklers in the basement. There was a change order, but it was, I don't think it costed anything for the ceiling downstairs. It was just more of a addendum. But I don't think there were any change orders associated with this. We have had a few change orders throughout the.
Well, my thought process is the cove base in the kitchen should have been caught by the architect at the time of planning.
Right, right. And actually, that's not costing us anything. Hargrave is coming back to do that. So.
Time it's within all
Right,
the time.
All right, so I just want to make sure of something, with school being back in session, as John has pointed out, we need to be extremely careful in making sure we understand what is on the school calendars when we're scheduling this opening. Because the last thing I think we want to do is have openings happening and special circumstances when we're having PTA nights, back to school nights, whatever's going on at the Park District, this thing that's going on at the village with this end of summer festival that they've now planned apparently. I don't know what, so I just hope we are being very cognizant of what conflicts are happening on dates that are on our calendar, because it's going to be a mess if we don't do that.
Okay, good. Anything else? Anybody else have anything you want to bring up?
I have a question. Sorry, do we have a, is there a flagpole at the Maker Place?
There is.
Okay,
Something to
I'm
talk about.
interested in talking about that at some point.
Something to talk about next time.
Yeah.
We'll have that discussion at some point.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was one there. I did walk by, North School Park has like 5. So, okay.
Anything else?
I know our brothers and sisters up there are having quite a lively conversation I think tonight also.
Yeah, I also think it's easy.
They have
to
a
plant
lot
the
at North
flagpole,
School Park.
so
There's only one flag and there's 5 empty poles. It actually looks kind of dumb. They should at least put something on those other poles. So, anyway. Okay.
Okay, can we have a motion to go into closed session, please?
I'll move that we go into closed
I'll
session.
second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nope. Okay, we are going to closed session.
Thank you, ladies.
Is there a separate login I need?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you one in a minute here, okay?
You'll send it in a minute?
And we are zooming this folks here, right?
We are.
And if anybody's watching this on Zoom, just so you know, when we come back, it will just be basically just adjourned. Okay, that's a good point.
It's already up.
Should we shut the door or just?
Yes.
Yes, we're using shit.
Hold on, hold on.
Yep. Good, good battery.
And that's August 7th, by the way.
Okay, can we open this door, open the door real quick?
Sure.
Okay, are we on, Mike?
Yeah.
We are.
Okay, we are back in live session for the committee of the whole for the board of trustees, Arlington Memorial Library for June, what's this, 12th, 2021, July 12th, 2021. Oh, shoot, maybe we can start this again, guys. Sorry, I gotta do this again. I have to turn this off. Okay, we are back in session for the committee of the whole for the Arlington Heights Memorial Library for July 12th, 2021. Everybody just please say your name real quick.
John Suplet.
Amy Samari.
Sarah Dow.
Debbie Smart.
Mike Driscoll.
Greg Zick
Janet Moronic. Janet Bissell.
and,
Andy Rule.
okay, got y'all on there. Very good. Okay, can we have a motion to adjourn?
I move approval of the
Oh,
closed session minutes from July 12th, 2021.
I second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay. Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, now can we have a motion for adjournment?
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Second, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, and we are done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well done, everyone.
All right.
I think you can't make the motion actually go through the minutes because